Hello YouTube artist, I'm Kelly Hernig and welcome to In the Studio. Today I'm going to talk to you about thinking outside the box. Now I have to say that this has taken me years to get my brain used to this, but once you start seeing things past what they are meant to be, it will open your eyes to endless magical possibilities. I promise. This is what I'm going to talk about today. You can see it is a bunch of rusty kind of metal stuff, and then some game pieces, a little paper crane, and a brush holder. So we're going to talk about these one at a time, and I want you to forget what they were meant for and look at them as what they can become. And I'm going to show you some art at the end of this so that you can see how I've used it in unconventional ways. So let me talk about the metal stuff first. This is just an old film canister. It's filled with nails right now, but I want you to look at the shape of it. Isn't it gorgeous with just the texture here, a little metal bottom, but look at the patina on this case. Now I want you to think about this standing this way, standing this way, standing this way, being open and things spilling out, right? It's more than just a canister now. We can fill it with anything. We can put anything on top of it. We can balance something here. We can balance something here. We can add to this and add, let's just say, a doorknob on top of it. And look, it almost looks like a mushroom. So I want you to think about that. I think it'll be easier to see on here. Now, I talked last video about hoses, hose nozzles. I absolutely love them because of all the texture. I mean, look, this is the part that connects to the hose, so it's usually got a little more patina. They come in all kinds of different shapes. What I like about them is they are a tall element. Sometimes it's hard to find tall, skinny things besides like a branch or a stick. So I use a hose nozzle a lot. And what I like about it is it's different from the top. It's different from the bottom. When you lay it down, you really don't know what is it. And I like that. I like when you're questioning, what the heck is that laying there? So I want you to just think about that and something like that standing on top of it. You're like, what is that? Think about this with a ball behind it. What is it? Why is it there? What possibility does it have? What can you make it that makes it more interesting? What can you wrap around it? Can you wrap thread or string or ribbon? I like to take something that is mostly mechanical, or think of this as hard, right? Because it's heavy and it's made out of brass. So wrapping a delicate sheer ribbon around it is going to give it a totally different feel than putting it with a lot of other metal things. So I like to vary the textures if possible, and I really like putting it in unexpected ways. So taking this out into the garden and photographing it next to a flower, say something like that, and maybe I've got a small little element, let's just say the paper crane, sitting on top of it in the garden. So you're just like, what is that weird thing? And that's what I like. I like when people are like, why? Why is that there? What is that? How can I create that for myself? This is a wooden top. So you just play with it like that, right? Twist it and it stands on its little tip there. That's what it is. I bought this one at an antique store just because of this hole. I know it's something simple, but what I saw it as almost like a bee skep, right? So I'd imagine this hanging off of a tree. I imagine little bees coming out of it. But if you turn it upside down like this, look what happens. It almost looks like a space pod. I could definitely sit something on top here. Think about this big billiard ball on top. I mean, isn't that cool? You're wondering how it's balancing, and that's what I like. Imagine if you tilt it a little, or if you tilt the ball coming off of it, it creates that quirkiness, that kind of off-kilter feeling that I'm always looking at. So if I had this like this, and then the crane over here like this, I mean, look at what it does. It has you going all over the place. This has you feel like it's falling off, but yet this is hanging on. You could go one step further and have it way over here, which means it's all kind of leaning. Also, I want you to think about that hole. What can you put in there? What can you stick in this way to kind of have it coming out? Can something come out of it this way? Can something go into that? You can see the hole is there, definitely. It takes it in. So why not let it show as something going in? You could actually make it look like it goes in and out this way. So if you had something long enough, you could actually have it coming like this, going through it. You could have it this way and have something coming out of it. Imagine some kind of wire flower wrapping up and around. That's giving this an element of it's the holder, but yet it's got so much other things that you can do with it. So do not look at it as just a top. It is so much more. They're like metal rings. I don't know if they're napkin rings. I really don't know what they are. But here's what I like. I like if I find things tied together, I usually leave them tied, because now I can sit there and play with them and I can give them an off shape like that. Instead of me now having to look for string to hold them tighter, I can now play with them. I can kind of manipulate them a little differently. I mean, now for sure you don't know what it is. You can also lay these down and have one kind of standing up. And what I like about the one standing up here is now if I was taking a picture this way, let me show you what that looks like. So these are kind of all on its side, but then this one. Now this one I can use as it's looking through something. So imagine that I have a dice back here and this is like this, and that's what I'm painting now. So do you see how that becomes an element of now I can see through it? Not only can I see through it, I can add to that. Again, I can have something poking out. I can have one of my leaves. I can have a branch. I can have a branch of leaves going through this, right? And sticking out. I can have them falling like this and just a branch through here. I want you to look at the possibilities of something circular. It can go through, it can hang, you can hang things off of it, you can put stuff on top of it, you can definitely balance that crane on top of something like that, right? You could balance it on here, but you can also have something hanging. So I could have something hanging like this, I can have something like this, I can have something going through it. Again, it goes in and out, which I really like because that's giving you fun shadows, and it's also creating a couple of elements that you could have something standing here, something standing here, and something standing here. And that gives you 3 different surfaces to play with. And when you start thinking about it like that, you start realizing the potential that it has inside your work. And you know, I'm doing the stacks right now and I'm doing my 100-day project. So things like this has given me a lot of different ideas, and it's nice just to pull some things out and start thinking about them in new and imaginative ways. This is a perfect example of something that I found. I just really like it. I don't know what it's for, but I love the point here and I love the blunt shape here and I love this. So I could hang something from the top and have it hanging down. I can have it in momentum. I can have it look like it's swinging this way and maybe have something here. So it looks like it's gonna hit it. I could have it like this where it's already hit this and kind of put this over the top. Like you see the momentum there. And if I had a swing here or a string here, it's going to make it propel it. Just the same thing as if I did it like this. I could have this down here, but I could have this swinging. So the string could just have a little curve in it and it sends this in a different way. I can also have something sitting on top of it here. Let's just say a little block like that. And then I've got the dice going this way. Do you see how much more emphasis I have that it's now something other than just what it is, which I don't know what it is. But you can always add. You can always add things off kilter. And there's my crane. So you see how it kind of leads you this way. And I like that. I like when something's pushing you to see beyond what it actually is. I've got an old tin teacup here. Now this is from like a kid's set, a teacup set that's like enamel tin. And again, this is where the price tag was. I always leave the strings on there. So a teacup, it is meant to have something inside here, but I want you to look at it differently. First of all, you got this really cool knob. So if I have something behind, see how it can become almost like a hidden element? I like if I can hide an object back there and let the viewer discover it without me actually saying, hey, did you see the dice there? This is a fun thing to hide, to give you a look into what's behind it. But I also want you to see it this way as a shape, this way as a shape. I mean, look, you really don't know what it is when you look at it like that. I want you to look at it upside down like that as well. Now you have a solid base up here, but that doesn't mean something can't go here. So I have an old billiard ball. So why can't it go like that? And now why can't I put something up here? Let's say we've got my top up there. So I can put the top up there like this. I can put the top up there like this and make definitely something on top of it. I kind of like things off kilter. So imagine something like that. You're already like, whoa, what's going on? So if I change the handle too, let's change the handle that way and then have this off kilter this way. Do you see what that does? Is it really makes it almost impossible to look at it and try to figure out what in the heck is going on there. And that's what I like. You can also use the teacup this way and actually fill it with things. So imagine moss in there or mushrooms coming out of there, or this way, something spilling out. You can lay the handle down and actually put something here to stand up and have something spill out this way. It's got a lot of possibilities, but most of us when we see a teacup, what we're doing is we're doing this. So I want you to think outside the box. A doorknob, I collect old doorknobs, especially if they have beautiful chippy paint like this. I mean, look at the gloss of that paint underneath. This has been painted several times. You can see all the different colors. There's like a white, there's some pink, and I like something like this. What I really like about this is whenever I'm painting, I'm trying to think, how would I show the glossy side here and the non-glossy here, but yet get all of that beautiful patina of the paint. So how would you go about that? That's what I'm questioning myself. But it's also an interesting piece by itself. I mean, look at it. It's got the gloss edges there, and then it's got this nice dull finish here. So it's perfect for setting something on because it's going to add some drama to it. But I want you to look at it on its side. Now look at, here's where that big black mass is. But now if I turn it, you get all this beautiful patina as well. And you get this long spout here. So now it kind of looks like a vase. I want you to think of that. Just a vase with like a single, let's think of a dandelion, or maybe a violet from the yard, or a little seed pod. Just something that's sticking out, and it changes what it looks like. I mean, look at that. Isn't that a cool looking vase? Again, this can be set on something square like this. Like this, like this. It could be stood like this, like this, like this. And it's creating a different shape. I mean, look at how beautiful that is. And that's all because of an old doorknob, right? It's got, you can see it's got a cool hole there, so you could actually tie some string up there, but I love that too. So think about things differently. I have a magnifying glass. Now you can find little magnifying glasses all over the place. I know the dollar store even had some. They're plastic, but still they give you the same kind of reaction. So this is going to magnify a little bit for you. So imagine this. So let's just say we have something like this. And I've got my magnifying glass kind of resting on this. And I have a dice tucked under there. I'm trying to get just a portion of it. So say I have something like that. Now, isn't that interesting? Because you're like, oh, look at that dice back there. Let me see if I can pull it out just a little bit. Now you're like, what is that behind there? Because you really can't see it on the outside edge here. It's all focused on inside the magnifying glass, which I really, really love. So think about that ribbon again, that cool sheer ribbon wrapped around here, going around the magnifying glass, maybe coming out this way and draping over something, but yet you still see that dice back there, but that ribbon is going to give you some kind of movement. That's why I love a magnifying glass, because it can focus on anything. I mean, even the beautiful doorknob here, it can lay there and you can see how it really showcases the chippy paint. It showcases the beautifulness of all that. It's just a fun thing to do, and it's versatile. You can have it straight up and down. You can have it up this way, right? You can have it leaning on its side like this. You can lay it just down with something under it. Doesn't have to be much. It could be even one of your paintings under there. It just adds a nice little element, and it's a surprise because it gives you several different ways to view something. Okay, I've got a piece of door hardware here. This actually holds the doorknob in there, but what I like about this is there's 3 holes, so you can weave something in and out quite easily. You can take a flower stem, you can take ribbon, you can take twine. You could probably even take a piece, like a long piece of grass, and weave cut kind of in and out with several strands, and it's going to give you a nice little bit of texture because you're forcing it to go in and out of the holes. Even if you just went in through this one and then out through this one, it's going to give you a nice little area to look at. And again, the patina is beautiful, and you can see from the side you've just got a little bit, you kind of lose those holes. The back is beautiful with all its texture. Look at all that worn texture. So how would you use this? Again, you can use this as something to discover the dice from. Look at that. Let's do just a corner of it. There you go. You can even do it with that little one there and let part of the dice show over here, which I really, really like too. So I want you to think about how you would use this. How could you stack this on something? How could it be interactive? I mean, look at it on here and say now you've tied it on there. And you could actually go like this and tie it onto there so that you've got this big hole sticking out and this one too, but yet you're going to have the texture of, say, the grasses or the flower stems in there, and I'm going to really like that. I thought that would be cool. And these pieces here, I've got like little game pieces. This is a biscuit maker. I love finding these too because of the shape of them. I mean, look how cool that is. But if you turn it, it's got that hole again. And you know, I'm about trying to figure out how I can get something showing in there or hanging from there. This is a great element that it can go like this in something. Let me scoot that over. It can go like this. You can hang something off of it this way. You can hang something from it this way. This way, you can have something going through the hole and hanging out of it or sticking up through there. So think of a leaf, of course, in my instance, or a flower, anything. You've got this that could definitely hang on it like this, poke through it, poke up into it, and now it's changing the shape totally. But look how cool that is. And make it balance on something that's not right, like the top. Game pieces for me are about adding levels, so making almost like a stack. So I could do this, I could put the block down, I could put the domino on the edge here, then I could have this over here, and you see how it just becomes off kilter, and then I can have this maybe here. So you see how it's just not all stacked. I could definitely stack it all so it goes like this. To me, I want it to be off kilter. I don't want everything straight and solid. So imagine if I just did that. Now you've got, and let's push this way. Now look how much more interesting it is because it gives you that feeling of, I'm gonna fall. That's what I want. I usually don't want something straight and narrow because then it's just common. It's what everyone else would do, and I don't want to do that. So imagine now if I took this and added it to the bottom. Do you see how it makes it a little more, even more precarious, because I've got the whole element kind of resting on this circle down here. And that's the fun thing about having little things in your studio that you can kind of play with, because it gives you a way of trying something before you actually paint it. Yes, you can draw each of these out on like a piece of tracing paper, cut them out and kind of manipulate them and stack them on top of one another. But it's also fun to see the real kind of thing that makes it feel a little more three-dimensional. You know, the block is really fat. This one's really flat, so it's skinny. And then you've got, this is just an old wooden checker. And you can even, you know, do it this way and change the whole dynamic of it all. And that's the fun thing. This is a little kid's ring that I found in like a box of just toys. And I liked the shape of the back there. So you see how it's got like two little loops, and I know that's so you can widen it to go over your finger if you want, but I want you to think about this as an element itself. So you've got the flat side, you've got it looking like this, you've got it looking like this, you've got it seeing those little loops, which I love. But I want you to think about how you could use this. So you could use it just like this and hanging something off of those loops, right? Wrapping it around. You could do this and actually hook something through here. So we could actually do something like that where it's actually looped around it. And now I can hang something else off of that, which I would love. I could do something like this and have my little crane sitting up there. It just gives you another way to play with something. Imagine if it's right at the edge, maybe swinging a little like a pendulum. Let's move your crane down here. So see how off kilter that is, and that's kind of fun. Let's put a little wheel up there, or a marble or something like that. I can put the little dice up there. So you see, it just creates a little bit of movement and momentum. And I like if you can have that so that it pushes your eye. Remember when I talk about in my stacks and in my 100-day projects, I talk about the flow, about it moving forward. Something like this creates the movement going forward instead of having everything all straight and narrow like that. So you see that it doesn't go anywhere. Yes, the bird is pointing that way, but unless I follow through with something leading your eye that way, it's really not going anywhere. Or just a shift like this, just having this like this and the little crane, you can see that it's kind of like propelling yourself this way a little, just by that little swing of motion. And then I collect all kinds of little ornaments that I find that are more nature. So I think of like foxes and hedgehogs. These are deer. And I use these a lot in my art, and I'll show you the pictures of that. But I love them because I can stand them on something. I can stand the guy on this, right? I can put him on here, and I can put the hose nozzle back here. And you're like, what in the heck is that? Why did she put it together? What is that all about? I even like him by himself right next to it. It's just something to talk about. And like this brush holder, he's very cool too. And I love him because he's a hippo, but I love that the little brush rest, this is where the brush goes. But when I used him, I saw him swinging. I just like this little knob here. Can you see that? So I just put another one over here and made it look like a swing. And you'll see I've used him in several pieces of art. So let me show you some of the art that I've created with these things in the weirdest ways possible. Some of them are watercolor, some of them are color pencil. So here's a color pencil piece that I used the nozzle there, and that's that film canister. Now you see, and it's got a little matchbox truck on top of it, and then some little tiny little trees. But you see what a nice composition that is, because you really don't know what it is. And I like that. It's just, I wanted something tall and skinny there. That's all I used it for. But then having that surface on top there, put those little bottle brush trees on top, and I really like the way that that came out. I've got the little deer here. You see the ornament there. And then I've got that canister again with a block on top, a dice, and then another bottle brush tree. It's just a way of stacking where it's interest. It gives me a nice dark here to really define the deer. But then as I go up, I'm kind of getting a little airier and you don't see it as well. But yet all the elements are there and it creates a nice little stack so that you follow. Well, you actually follow this deer here, and then where is that deer looking? And I like that. I've got this book. These are both books of mine, by the way. I will have links for them down below. This, I use the magnifying glass. So this is the actual magnifying glass and the marble. This is my magnifying glass and marble painted in acrylics. And I liked seeing the paper behind it. So that's why I painted it like that. And the marble, I just wanted a little bit of color, but you can see what it did. It reflected the light so nicely under that magnifying glass. And I really enjoyed playing with that. Here are some other items. Now you can just see that, again, I've got the block, the dice, the wooden checker. Here I've got an old star. Again, just an empty box. This is just an empty box that I bought with the little stamp, and you can see that I took the tape measure and made it kind of go all the way around, a little grouping of keys. But I like that for the movement and what it does. Think about all the little things you get to discover in there. And that is part of my aesthetic whenever I'm painting or doing photography, is I want you to discover things that normally when you first look at it, you might not see. And then my 100-day project. Again, here's the magnifying glass, and you can see that I've hidden a couple of charms behind it. And I liked that you could see them kind of enlarged. I mean, look how big these leaves are compared to these leaves. So I like that it's giving you a little more up close and personal look at things. Here is the paper crane sitting on, this is actually a billiard ball for pool. And then this I just had a solid marble. But I liked stacking them on top of each other because it added that quirkiness of this little ball is really balancing all of that. And it makes you kind of nervous looking at it instead of having a square block, which would make it feel a little more grounded to the surface. Again, this is just a stack, and I use the dominoes for that. I use the little blocks. I use the little letters. Again, off kilter. Notice that they're not straight. And here I made it look like this one had a hole through it so that I could put that leaf through there. Here is the little hippo that I did on a swing. Here is that little bitty wood piece that I have it actually hanging this big bookmark from it. And you can see it's just a way of connection, but it's interesting to look at because you're like, what the heck is that? And I don't know what it is. If you know what it is, please let me know in the comments. I would appreciate that. So all my little things are about adding little treasures to make something a little more complicated than what it is, but also using it in unexpected ways. Who knew this little guy would look adorable on a swing? I didn't. I just wanted to try it and see what it looked like, and I was thrilled with the results. I hope it makes you look around your house and your studio with fresh eyes going, how could I repurpose that? What other way can I use that? And really try looking at things, bring it close, bring it up, inspect it, look at the texture, look at what it's offering you. You might not see a hot air balloon out of that. You might not see a little thing coming from space out of that. Maybe you don't see a bee skep like that. Because in actuality, it's just a toy. So bring it close, really analyze it, and close your eyes and be like, what else could that be? That's the magic of thinking outside the box. And when you start thinking outside the box, everything comes with duality. Nothing is what it seems anymore. And to me, that is the magic of seeing things through an artist's eye. And that's what I want you to do today, is be inspired by things that you see every day and find new possibilities for them. If you were inspired by today's Thinking Outside the Box video, Please let me know in your comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on this and what was your most surprising piece that I shared with you today. And as always, thanks so much for watching.